All right, folks, I'm back. We're going to do another lesson, another fun writing lesson today. This one is going to be all about aphorisms. I thought we'd do something just pretty simple and fun here. I think we could all use a little bit of fun. If you don't already know, which I bet you do, but if you don't already know, an aphorism is a sometimes funny, usually short saying that expresses the truth. You've heard people saying these your whole life. I bet you use a bunch of them. I bet now you're going to start catching yourself using a lot of them. Here's some examples, just so you kind of know what they are. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Children should be seen and not heard. You made your bed, now lie in it. That last one, the thing about some of these aphorisms is that they include expressions or images that like don't exactly correspond to what they're talking about. In other words, like, you made your bed, now lie in it. Very rarely does that refer to an actual bed, right? It's almost kind of like a metaphor, you know? But we say it so often we don't even realize it's a metaphor. In other words, you made your bed, now lie in it, basically means like you created this problem, now solve it, right? You forfeited your right to complain because like you basically made things this way. Now that's the only choice that you have, right? I mean, there's so many examples of aphorisms. I mean, there could be dictionaries full of them. And I think they're really fun, and I think you can do a lot of creative stuff with them. One company that does a lot of creative stuff with them is the Lone Star Beer Company, which we have here in Texas. Now, full disclaimer at this stage, in no way am I condoning or encouraging or supporting or suggesting underage drinking or overindulgence in drinking. I just think that these Lone Star bottle caps are pretty fun and interesting, and sometimes they really stump me. And then I've met people who are really good at them, and so I thought it might be kind of fun to look at a few of them, kind of see how they work, and then also like create some of our own. And I can show you a little bit, kind of walk you through the process of doing your own, but really the creative part of it is going to come from you, depending on what kind of like artistic skills you have. So even though this is totally writing related, the bulk of this will be illustrating. So that's why one thing I think you can sort of just breathe a big sigh of relief about. Zooming in here so you can kind of see a little bit closer what this says. That number there is just not important at the moment. The first word is don't. So, okay, this one kind of starts off pretty easily because it gives us the first word and it gives us the full word, all right? So it's just don't, right? Next line, S plus bird, and then the number 2, all right? S plus birds. And, it actually helps saying these things out loud, and sometimes that sort of helps you hear what the kind of pun is, if there's a pun. Another thing there about the number 2 is that, like, now if you start doing enough of these, after a while you start to sort of sense certain symbols that mean certain things. In other words, the number 2, when it's in the middle of this phrase, usually like means the word to, like to. All right, so don't, birds, to. Okay, and then the third line, S plus train plus jurors. So S plus train plus jurors, train, jurors, strangers. That's about the time that I would hope that you realize that bird isn't just a picture of a bird. It's like kind of referring to the beak of a bird with those like lines. So don't speak to strangers. Got it? It's not an exact science. That's what sort of makes it a kind of creative thing, but it's pretty cool once you figure it out. And that's what it is. Don't. speak to strangers. We'll do a couple more just for fun, and yeah, then before long I'll cut you loose to create your own. This is number 12. You are a okay, well, this is going to be fun. I mean, it's starting us off, I think, pretty easily. Again, you are a and by the way, you know, I know you can totally handle this all on your own. I'm just kind of walking you through kind of my thought process just to give you start you off right, and also since I think it helps sort of visualize how you can create your own. Yeah, that's a barrel, right? Really can't think of anything else to call that. You are a barrel, UV. Now, here's one of the, you know, again, you get used to the sort of code or the kind of language that these are. UV is of, right? That's one way you might pronounce it. You are a barrel of. Now, by this point, you've probably got enough information to where you could just solve it. You are a barrel of laughs. But if you didn't, you know, you look at that kind of, zoom in there too so you can see, you know, that mouth basically with the lips and the teeth, and that's, you know, looks like it's open the way you would when you laugh. Okay, so you are a barrel of laughs. I tried to pick easy ones to start with. All right, one more before I start rambling on. I'll just give you a chance to look at it. Initially, when I picked this one, I thought about starting with it because it seemed like the easiest, but actually I think there's something kind of difficult about this one. So I don't know, I'd be curious to know if anybody got it right away. We have the I and then we have L, right? So that's pretty clear that, you know, that's an I, meaning not the I that is pictured, but the letter I, aisle, right? Aisle, and then we have the same I again. And I think that's what makes this a little bit hard, is that when I say it, I'm like, I'll, you, right? Like in my, and then the only other clue we have are those Z's, which I think of sleep, right? Like the Z's are what you produce, or like cartoon characters produce Z's into the air when they're sleeping. So I'm like, I thought for a minute, like, I'll watch you in my sleep, which sounds like it could make sense, but it actually doesn't. I mean, I could maybe allow I'll watch you in your sleep, you know, despite the fact that that's really creepy, you know, it at least makes sense. But I'll watch you in my sleep doesn't quite, you know, make sense. And by the way, most of these are things that people already say all the time anyway, most of them. So we have to sort of think of something else. And I think that's the trouble, is that the I can actually be a clue for a different word. And I think in this case, well, I know for a fact, in this case, the I is referring to what an I actually does. So they sort of trick us with this one, you know? So it's, I'll see you in my dreams, right? I'll see you in my dreams. That's definitely something that people say. It's a saying. I don't know if I'd call it an aphorism. Some of these are a little bit not, they're just more like expressions or cliches. They're not always aphorisms, but they're usually something that you've heard before. I'm just gonna speed things up here really quickly because I think that's probably enough for you to figure this out. Like, you're going to get started doing your own bottle cap puzzle. You have to be pretty skilled, you know, with a very fine, very fine tipped pen or something to actually write these on bottle caps. But I think that could be pretty cool if you have the ability to do that. But I think you still, you'll still want to kind of go through this process. And you know, you can make a giant bottle cap, or you could just put it on paper. You know, if you have, you could do it on the computer. In fact, the one I'm about to show you in a minute, done entirely on the computer. Whatever you use to, you know, be creative and illustrate and just kind of have fun with it. And the great thing about doing this is that then you can kind of show it to somebody else, right? You could take a picture of it, text it to your friend or whatever, see if they can guess it. You'll usually hear from people if you've made a bad one, you know, like most people, if they can't solve it, then they're, you know, pretty annoyed. It's almost sort of your fault that, you know, I mean, it should be a little bit challenging, but it shouldn't be so hard that it's basically impossible. And I think the trick to doing that is when you're planning, you know, really think about whether you have an aphorism or a saying or something that's really going to work. So, y'all have access to the internet. You can find, hundreds of thousands of different aphorisms. So you could start there until you find one. Or you could just sort of sit around and wait till you find yourself saying one of them, like off the top of your head, right? Off the top of your head, I think would be a good one for this exercise. Okay, so make your own, plan, sketch, create. Plan is basically pick your aphorism. So I chose something easy, and it's about how easy things can be. Easy come, easy go, right? Things that walk into your life very easily, walk right back out very easily. Isn't that true? Okay. This stage is just sketching. Now, I just, didn't really do a whole lot of sketching here, but I was thinking, easy, back to easy come, easy go. Come and go are opposites, right? So I'm just sort of thinking of how you can visually, right, without sort of, actually using the words or the letters of the words, visually represent, coming and going as opposites or as moving in opposite directions, right? Which I think is, fairly simple. I'm thinking of arrows that, where one goes one way and then, the other one kind of goes the other way. And as far as easy goes, easy could do a lot of things with that. You could think of pictures. About as far as I got with, and of course now we're in the create phase, but I was just thinking of the letters easy, because I think like the thing is like it's important, I think, to mix in hard and easy clues, obviously I think the word easy is going to be pretty easy to get from this picture, but people have to sort of use their imagination, their creativity, and a lot of thinking in order to come up with the come and go aspect of this just from looking at the arrows. But that's definitely one that you can do. Have fun with this. Do as many as you like. If it's for credit or if your teacher asks you to turn it in, make sure it's appropriate for class. Other than that, have fun with this and enjoy.